Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment. The first item on the agenda will be to approve the minutes for the April meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look over those? Okay. Any questions? No? Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passes. We now need to open the Board of Adjustment. So do I have a motion to open the Board of Adjustment?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Excuse me. Thank you. Public hearing.
Second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So the first application tonight is for a variance for a property located on OF Linear Road. It is currently zoned RR1 and is a little over 5 acres. The applicant is requesting to reduce the lot width required in RR1 zoning in order to subdivide to create another parcel along the rear of the property in order to place a second home there. There is currently a home already on the front of the property. RR1 zoning requires a 150-foot lot width, but the narrower portion of the lot is only 136 feet wide, which is a reduction of 14 feet. The applicant indicated the shape of the property is the hardship, because otherwise there's more than enough acres to subdivide, with 1 acre being the minimum lot size required. They also indicated they will be able to meet all other requirements, including setbacks, with the new home. Staff did also note that this shape is creating a unique condition for the property, as well as that existing home further restricting that subdivision due to setbacks. The applicant did combine 2 separate parcels to create this property in 2005, but this narrow portion did already exist in this shape, so they have not created this shape of property. So staff did find that this request is consistent with the ordinance and meets the variance criteria, and did recommend approval of the variance, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Will there be a, would there have to be an approval of like a final plat or
Yes.
anything like that?
Yeah, so that'll come at a staff level. If this variance is approved, they would have to submit a final plat like you would see with any other minor plat, and that'll go through its own review where staff makes sure it meets all of our other requirements, and signs off on it prior to being recorded.
And I noticed the drawing that you have up there, it shows like a 30-foot easement.
Yes.
But I didn't think you could subdivide off of an easement. Does
So-
that have to be?
So the Unified Development Ordinance made a change where there's a limitation, but you can subdivide up to a certain amount with that 30-foot easement, and it will have to meet the dirt road standards.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Sarah? No?
And just as a reminder, when you make your vote, we do have the resolution that you should use to adopt and approve the variance or not approve the variance.
Okay, would the applicant like to speak? Or the homeowner?
I just wanted to tell y'all that.
If you'll just state your, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
If you'll just
sorry.
state your name and address for the record, thank
Okay,
you.
It's Samantha Batchelor, and my address is 717 OF Linear Road. I just wanted to reiterate that the reason we are doing this is so that my daughter and son-in-law can eventually build a home there in the back. And I did want to tell y'all that I had no idea like what to do, how to start this or anything, and I did want to let y'all know that the employees have been more than helpful, and I have made numerous phone calls, but they have been more than gracious to answer all my questions. I wanted to let y'all know that.
Yeah, they are the best. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ms. Batchelor. Do we have anyone here to speak for the project? Anyone to speak against the project? No, okay. All right. Well, with that, do we have any other questions from the commission? No? Make a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Some, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion for or against this variance?
Make a motion to approve the variance as presented.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, variance passes. All right. Next item on the agenda is V371-22. Do we have a motion to open public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
So this application is for a variance for a property located at the corner of Harris Trail and Port Royal. It is zoned A5, but is only 1 acre and is currently vacant. The applicant is planning to build a church on the site and is requesting the variance in order to reduce the required parking. And here's a conceptual plan they provided. Our ordinance would require 29 paved spaces, and the applicant is requesting to provide only 12 paved spaces, with the rest to be located on the grass, but those would not count towards their parking as we require paving. So this is being requested in order to meet lot coverage requirements. In terms of the variance criteria, the applicant indicated the lot size at 1 acre is creating this hardship. A5 zoning only allows up to 20% lot coverage, but normally these lots are required to be a minimum of 5 acres. This is just an existing non-conforming lot. And staff did also agree that that would be a hardship due to this smaller lot size. Additionally, there is a study for the expansion of Harris Trail that will expand the right-of-way that will further encroach on this lot and affect the layout, and that is shown on that site plan as well. The applicant has accounted for this and will be able to meet the other requirements with this parking lot reduction, even with that expansion of the right-of-way. They are also going to be requesting an administrative relief for the front setback, but that's done at a staff level because it's a very minor relief that doesn't require variance. Staff did find that the variance meets the intent of the ordinance, as all other requirements will be met, and there will still be room for parking on the site. So staff did recommend approval, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Sarah?
Yes, is the green line shown on the plan, is that the new right-of-way for Harris Trail that's proposed?
Yes, I believe so. Let me just confirm that on their concept plan here.
I think that's the street yard.
Yes. So the that will be the buffer, and then that blue line is the potential
Oh, the
future
blue
right-of-way.
line.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And we've run into this a few times before,
Yes, we
particularly
have.
with churches
Yes.
and organizations like that. And I realize that, I mean, because we've run into this before, is there something we should consider changing in the ordinance, or?
So a text amendment is an option. That would be something we'd have to discuss and go through further. It's its own process. But currently under the ordinance, they are still, there's nothing we can do at like a staff level to
Right.
change that requirement.
But we have approved this type of
Yes.
parking
Similar,
arrangement.
yes.
Yeah,
For nonprofits,
right.
at least twice that I can think of.
I think you're right. I can think of 2 instances.
Is it still best to go through the process just to vet those?
It's ultimately up to the board whether or not they think it would be appropriate to change the ordinance.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
And again, recommending approval, and there's the resolution.
Awesome, thank you. Is the applicant here to speak, or a representative of the church? Yeah, come on up. Just speak your name and address into the, or the property address into the microphone,
Yes,
please.
I'm Pastor Floyd Hartford. My address is 27 Reese Drive in Richmond Hill. Yes, and we're trying to build the church there, and then we just need to get the grass parking area. We know that the concrete parking is only 14, and because of the size of the lot, we just like to be able to park on the grass area.
Right.
How will y'all be able to make sure that and maybe this is a better question for your engineer,
Yeah.
but how will y'all be able to make sure that the grassed area is serviceable, like when it rains or gets muddy?
How are we going to be able to do that?
Yeah, will you have any gravel down or anything like that to just make sure that it's?
Well, yes, we can. That's not a problem to put that down. We just want to be able to have that area we can put milling in there if possible,
Right.
to keep it from being a little soggy when it
Right.
does get rain.
Is that part of your plan to do that, or you can just, you all will do that if it's necessary?
We're going to do that if it's necessary.
Gotcha, Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Would the engineer like to speak on this?
Hi, Jason Bryan, Pittman Engineering. If you have any questions, be happy to answer this.
Just as far as the grass parking, do you think the topo and drainage and all there will be adequate to use
Yes.
that as parking?
Yes, and it will need maintenance, of course, to make sure that it doesn't settle and cause any issues when it is raining. So we'll have to keep it level and graded. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here? Do we have any slips for someone to speak for this project? Any against? No? All right, well, with that, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have a motion for V31-22?
I make a motion that we approve the application as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next, we're going to go into the Planning and Zoning Commission. So a motion to open planning and zoning public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in public hearing for planning and zoning. Sarah?
So this is an application for rezoning located on Highway 204. The property is approximately 4.8 acres. It's currently zoned B1, and the applicant is requesting an RR1 zoning in order to construct a home on the property. Under the B1 zoning, they would not be able to construct a residence. This rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, which indicates this area is low density and agricultural. The immediately adjacent properties are also zoned residential and agricultural, with business and a manufactured housing park across the highway. So this rezoning is compatible with the surrounding area and would have less of an impact than a business development on that lot. The lot has previously been used for residential purposes, which was not permitted under the B1. So this rezoning also makes it a more conforming property and more compatible with that surrounding zoning scheme. So staff is recommending approval, and the applicant did provide just a rough site plan. And so staff is recommending approval of that RR1 zoning. And I can answer any questions.
Do we know how that originally got to be B1?
No, staff did some research and we were not able to locate the original rezoning for the property, but it has been that way based on the zoning maps for quite some time.
Okay.
Anything else for Sarah? No? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here to speak? Okay. State your name and address into the microphone, please.
Yeah, it's Edward Matthew Meyer, previously 109 Alexander Way, Richmond Hill, Georgia. We had a house fire in Main Street, which got us rolling down this whole, this whole thing to make a big change. So we found this property. We were pretty fortunate to land upon it, and I think it'll do nice for, us and the kids and give us some space that we need, so.
Great, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Meyer? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here to speak for this? Any against? Okay, with that, we can take a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we need to take a vote for Z264-22 for the rezoning. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we recommend the rezoning as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the rezoning passes. Motion to open public hearing for Z236-20. Go back.
I'll make a
Okay,
motion.
sorry. Do we have a second?
Second.
We're all tired tonight. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Amanda, thank you.
All right, the applicant on this request is RP Seaport LLC. They're being represented by Thomas and Hutton Engineering. And the specific request for this parcel is to amend the Bryan County Ordinance number 2021-4 to amend the zoning conditions that were adopted under their original zoning case file, which was Z236-20. So this property was originally rezoned to the I-2 zoning district in January of 2021. With that rezoning, there were numerous conditions that were attached that identified the timing for certain requirements through their development process. And specifically, there were some conditions related to the timing for when their transportation agreements and water and sewer agreements had to be completed. And so this request is requesting to amend some of the language for those conditions to allow a little bit more flexibility for when those agreements must be completed. The first part of their request relates to the transportation agreement. Under the original condition, it would have limited them and prevented them from being able to do any type of timbering and clearing and grading prior to having that agreement approved by the county. What's being requested now is to allow them to go ahead and proceed with timbering, clearing, and grading while the county continues to work with the developer on getting the conditions of that agreement finalized and able to be presented to the Board of Commissioners. So it allows them to move forward without getting into full site development. Similar with the water and sewer condition, they were limited for what they could commence with prior to that agreement being completed. And same here, they're requesting the amendment in order to allow for timbering and clearing and grading to be able to proceed while the county continues to work with them. And so staff is supportive of this request. They've been working closely with the engineering department to get the terms drafted for the agreement, and I think that the county is hopeful that that will be completed by August. So staff is recommending approval of this change.
Any questions for Amanda?
Is there a specific reason for the change? Are they trying to meet a timeline?
So I think they're trying to stay on their time frame. The reasons associated with the change really have to do with a lot of the infrastructure changes that are taking place in the north end of the county. For instance, with the transportation agreements, there's the new roundabout that's being considered for the Highway 280 corridor. And there's some grant opportunities that the county's been working on, and some of these things have to be solidified and understood before they can put the terms into the agreement. Similar with the water and sewer, there's a lot of discussion about the infrastructure and how it's going to be routed to support the development up there. And until some of those items are finalized, we don't know what to put into the final agreement for that configuration. So.
Okay.
Didn't we approve a similar amendment for one of the other developments that's part of that whole area?
So we have done a few amendments for a couple of the other tracks up there. I don't think that we've seen one related to the water and sewer and transportation agreements, but some of the other ones that we have seen were amendments to some of the floodplain requirements and agreements that were tied with those original conditions, and we no longer saw the need for those. So we have seen some amendments to those overall conditions. There were lots of conditions included with those original rezonings.
I thought there was one where the original language said something about issuance of building permits, and then we changed it was a timing issue like this.
Yes, okay, so thank you for reminding me of that. So that condition was related to when building permits could be issued, and it was related to the timing of when the infrastructure for the water and sewer services that would supply that building would have to be completed. And the amendment that was made to that condition would allow the developer to go ahead and proceed with pooling their building permits, but they wouldn't be able to get a final certificate of occupancy until the infrastructure was constructed. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot going on the north end of the county. Would Representative from Thomas and Hutton like to speak?
Good evening. Here to answer any questions, but I do want to take a moment to applaud staff, because this was actually their idea and initiative to help with the developer stay on track with the project. So kudos to staff.
Any questions? No, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak for this project and against? No? All right, well with that, I'll take a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have a motion for Z236-20?
I'll make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it passes. And other business?
Okay, so for our other business item this evening, staff wanted to take the opportunity to kind of provide the Planning and Zoning Commission an overview and update on the county's efforts to update the county's comprehensive plan. We were able to present this to the Board of Commissioners at their meeting last week as an official public hearing, which is a required first step in this process. And we had with us Glenn Coyne, who is with GMC. That's the part of the county's consultant who is helping staff work on this plan update. And he provided them with a great overview. But staff tonight wanted to take the opportunity to be able to provide you with the same so that you kind of understand where we're at in that process and what efforts we're going to be working on over the next 18 months. So I'm going to start just by giving a little bit of background, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who is going to talk about our time frame and next steps and where we're at in this process. So to start, I want to introduce you to Blueprint Bryan 2045. This is the logo that was created to help get a little bit of brand recognition with the plan as we start moving it forward. So we're hoping to be able to use this on flyers and other materials so that people can start recognizing this as an effort and hopefully see it, through different materials and recognize that it's all associated with what we're working on. So to provide an overview, I'm going to start with generally what is a comprehensive plan. We talk about it a lot in these meetings, but just to kind of get down to the basics of it, the comprehensive plan is the county's long-range planning document that we use to establish and guide county-wide policies, usually related to land use decisions, as well as facilities and infrastructure improvements that might be needed. What it does is it starts usually by inventorying what's existing and then outlines the community's vision for the future. And so we usually start with some type of existing conditions assessment in order to highlight where the county is at. And then the fun part of the plan is always about creating that vision for how the county wants to grow. So within this plan, as stated, we usually start with some type of, goals that will help us to achieve the vision that the county has kind of relied on and adopted. And then in order to achieve those goals, what the plan will seek to do is create some concrete action steps that we can use to implement the plan and work towards those goals. And all of this is building back up to that county-wide vision. So when we're talking about a comprehensive plan, it's usually considered over a 20-year planning horizon. So with this particular plan, Blueprint Bryan, we're going to be envisioning the future of Bryan County through the year 2045. And so that's where we see that in that name, Blueprint Bryan 2045. So some basics on why we're doing this. One of the first reasons we're doing it is a regulatory requirement. So the Georgia Planning Act of 1989 is what required local communities to develop a long-range comprehensive plan. And within those requirements for comprehensive planning, they require that these plans be updated every 5 years. And so the county last adopted their update to the comprehensive plan in 2018. Which means our next one has to be adopted by 2023. So we start that process early so that we have plenty of time to go through the necessary steps prior to having to adopt it. The other reason why we do it is because part of that Georgia Planning Act ties this plan and this requirement to funding opportunities. So it's necessary for us to maintain that qualified local government status, and a requirement to maintain that status is making sure that we update this plan on time. But beyond that, the update to the comprehensive plan and this process that we're starting out on really provides communities that opportunity to kind of reassess the conditions of the community and to anticipate future needs. And so as we all know, the assessments and the needs that we envision, they can change over time. So what we might have envisioned for Bryan County 20 years ago could be greatly impacted by things such as what we've seen over the last 10 years with that unprecedented growth. And people are now coming to our community because they see the value in it and the wonderful assets that we have. And so that type of growth, it causes us to have to reassess and then re-envision and plan for how we're going to handle that. So changing conditions would be a reason why we would want to stay on top of this plan, aside from just having to comply with the Georgia requirements. And then we do it because it allows us to be able to set that plan for moving forward and provides us with some certainty, and the community, it provides them with some certainty about where development is going to occur, what it will look like once it occurs, and when it will happen. So we rely on this to kind of serve as that day-to-day policy document so that whenever we're having to make decisions about development and infrastructure needs, we have some plan in place that helps us in guiding those decisions. So in a comprehensive plan, Georgia requires that we have certain elements. And so these are particular topics that must be addressed within a comprehensive plan. There are some basic elements that are required. And then as a community, you can elect to do some optional elements. So what's represented up here are some of the required elements. And so these are certainly things that are going to be incorporated into the plan that we're working on. Those things include things such as the community goals. And so these are the agreed upon goals that the county is going to establish that is going to help us reach the vision for how the county wants to look in that 2045 planning horizon. The other required element that we must address are the needs and opportunities of the county. And so this is where we really do that assessment about where we're at and then where our opportunities for growth are. The third item that we have up here is our community work program. That is the very specific short-term work plan that also gets adopted as a part of the comprehensive plan. And although we're planning for a 20-year period, the community work program usually projects out to just 5 years, but creates those very actionable items that the county can act on in order to move us towards that 20-year mark and where we want to be. The capital improvement elements is another element that's required for Bryan County, and this is required because we do participate in a traffic impact fee program. And so this is something that we have to address in order to make sure that we stay compliant with that. And then the fifth element that I have up here is our land use element, and this is probably the one that you're most familiar with because this is where we talk about the character areas of the county and we talk about that future land use map. And so this one becomes particularly important as we're making zoning decisions because we do want to make sure with every zoning decision and zoning change that we make that we're going back to those larger character areas and agreed upon areas that we've already identified for certain types of development. So in addition to those required elements, some other things that we're looking to incorporate into this plan is going to be a discussion about community services. And that includes broadband, which is actually a new required element that Georgia has now mandated for communities. We're also looking to address economic development, transportation, housing, and then also needs with parks and recreation. So whenever we talk about this being a comprehensive plan, it truly is comprehensive because we're looking at all these different facets that are needed for the county to grow. So when it comes to contributing to this plan, comprehensive plans truly are an effort of the community and of the county at large. And so we incorporate different stakeholders in different kinds of ways. First and foremost, though, we have the project team that's leading the effort, and this is made up of the Community Development Department staff in coordination with our consultants, GMC. And so we're guiding the process with them and setting out the goals and milestones for moving the plan forward to that adoption date of 2023. Beyond that, we're working with the Technical Advisory Committee. So this is a staff level committee, but it incorporates, outside of just the Community Development Department, we have members from the Engineering Department, Parks and Recreation, Senior Services. This is where we bring in the rest of the county staff on a more technical level who can contribute to the plan and provide some of that insight, maybe on issues or opportunities that they see. And then we're also working with the steering committee. The steering committee is an appointed committee. They were appointed by the Board of Commissioners. It's a 17-member committee, and they make up more of a broad range of residents throughout the county with different experiences and maybe technical expertise who can come together and help guide both the project team and the technical advisory committee and providing some input back onto, you know, how they think that the plan can be impacted. And then, of course, the general public. So this is where we really do seek the input of the general public through this process and provide opportunities, because even though we're working with these smaller, you know, committees to help guide the process, it's going to be the input of the general public that really helps us to start form the opinions that need to be factored into the plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah now, who's going to talk about, you know, kind of the next steps and where we're at.
So this is just a general timeline of the process. It's planned to take about 18 months with that adoption, as Amanda mentioned, in 2023, in October of 2023. So we've started the research and data collection that you see in step 1. The consultant is completing a lot of that and currently working on that. Soon we'll move into the public input. This will include items like the survey that will be online, public workshops, which will take place in both ends of the county, outreach at local events, and other items that will be scheduled. The draft is planned to be completed in spring of next year, and that will be presented, and there will be available for comment on our website as well, and then that final approval, which will also include approval by the Department of Community Affairs. In terms of next steps, our immediate next step is going to be starting the public outreach. We will be scheduling public workshops in August, again, on one on each end of the county, and we will be announcing those dates. So our social media, we'll try to get that out there, and then also on our website. We plan to have the online survey available starting in August, and that'll probably run through the beginning of September. And so the best way to stay informed is to visit our project page, which is specific to this plan. It's the Comprehensive Plan Update page. It has several options you'll see at the bottom there. The About section is just sort of some general information about comprehensive plans and the elements that Amanda showed. The meeting section, that'll have all of our meetings, the steering committee, the public meetings, all the TAC meetings, the dates, and then once they happen, the agenda and all of that information. The public input section will also have meeting information, as well as that survey and any other opportunities for public outreach or input. And then the draft section will be where we put those drafts and people can provide comments and feedback. We'll also work on updating our social media pretty regularly about it, which Matt will do for us. And so just keep an eye on that, especially our Facebook. We update pretty regularly. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
How do you plan on getting the word out to the public?
So our social media is a big part of it, and then we also have our website, and then we present at these public meetings as well, which hopefully we hope people see it. And we also have some plans to put together some printed material and have that out at maybe like libraries and those sort of locations for people to know about.
And then also usually when we put out on Facebook, WTSC will
Yes.
usually broadcast, and then Bryan County News.
And also our steering committee, which is members of the public, we let them know about these things, and then they can let the people that they're connected to, let them know as well, and the TAC committee, and spread the word that way as well. Any additional questions?
Sounds great. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have anything else on this? Sorry, I was taking so many notes. I turned my agenda over. I was so interested. This is amazing. Great job, guys. So we have that. Any other business, Audra?
Yes, I just want to make one announcement for the public. The Board of Commissioners meeting for June has been changed to June 8th at 5:30. It will be in Richmond Hill. I make this announcement because the apartment complex that's on Harris Trail, that is scheduled to go back in front of the board at that meeting, and there was also a plan unit development amendment for Magnolia Hill, and the board had postponed it for 2 months or deferred it for 2 months. So I just wanted to let the public know that it is going to be June 8th, which is a Wednesday at 5:30 in Richmond Hill. Thank you.
Great. Anything else from staff? Well, with that, I will take a motion, please, to adjourn this meeting.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.